Good evening once again. I feel like making a reference that will date me, but I feel a little like Jerry Lewis at the end of Labor Day. I kind of want to loosen the tuxedo tie and ask Ed McMahon for a Tiffany roll. For those of you who have been with us for a good part of these last 23 hours, up and awake and enlivened by the work we've been so fortunate to hear together, thank you. And to those of you who have joined us more recently, thank you for being here now as well. It seems like only a day ago I said this, but my name is Peter Steeves, and it's my privilege to be the director of the DePaul Humanities Center. Welcome to 24 Hour George Saunders. So, allow me to thank once again the people who helped make this day possible, especially Chuck Suchard, the Dean Emeritus of DePaul College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, Lucy Reinhardt, the current interim dean of the college, who just gave a great reading 2 hours ago, the entire staff and associate deans in the office of the dean of the college, and the staff of the Humanities Center as well. So Anna Von Klissel, Alicia Person, and Evan Edwards. They really helped put all this together, and I owe them a lot as well. I also want to thank all of the 23 intrepid readers who brought George's work to life over the last day. They gave their time and their talents to this cause, and I'm in their debt. They all know, I believe, what I know, that George is a unique talent with a voice that speaks clearly, intelligently, humorously, and honestly to the question of what it means to be a person today. It's a voice that speaks like no other, really. And that's one of the most special things about George, and there are a lot of them. Simply by reading his work, he at once seems like your best friend, as if he's been inside your head, reading your mind, picking up on how you feel and even how you can't sort out how you feel these days. But at the same time that he's so familiar, he also seems like an artistic talent that's far beyond us, at least beyond me. Far beyond what you yourself might be able to express about your own feelings concerning living in the modern world. We here at DePaul wanted to celebrate the arts and humanities and contribute to a discussion about their future. And it seemed to me, what better way to do this than to focus on someone who's a product of the culture's investment in those pursuits. So this event has been first and foremost a celebration of George for all he's given us so far, all that's still to come as well. But then we're asking everybody who hears and cares and agrees to think with us about how we can best support the arts and humanities and higher education for all those future generations to come. In a few moments, George is going to be addressing that future and why the arts and humanities matter. When I think about this question, one of the things that comes to mind is something that George once said in a conversation when David Sedaris asked him about the purpose of writing. To me, answered George, writing fiction is the ultimate form of doing something. An idea or notion or image leaves the writer's mind, goes directly into the readers, and has the potential to change what it finds there. We live in a world in which doing something concretely is often taken to be the most practical. George's background is in engineering. My own is in physics, actually. So I think maybe we both understand this. But it's a world, too, in which ideas matter, in which ideas drive change, or else ideas keep fueling the status quo, for better or for worse. And one idea that's worth thinking about is what we mean by the word practical. President Obama famously apologized last year for suggesting that an art history major wasn't a practical career investment. And though his comment, I truly believe, wasn't meant to disparage art history or the humanities in general, it was instead most probably a glib, unthoughtful joke meant to encourage pursuing technical training. The bigger point is that such a joke was even culturally available to the president. It was recognizable by all of us as intelligible. It was there for the making, because there's some general sense that somehow the humanities have less importance because they lead to less money. That's what practical has come to mean. The truth is that a degree in the humanities does not actually lead to less money in the long run over one's career. There are statistics to back this up that are undeniable. Humanities degree graduates eventually earn more than those who major in business, for instance. But I hate pointing those things out, because it seems like we're making the wrong conclusions. We give up the game before it's even won, because it's already allowing economics to set all the rules at the start. A degree in the arts and humanities can indeed provide important training that serves students economically. But not everything that has value can be translated into a value that economics recognizes. It seems like an obvious thing, something we all know, but I wonder how much we really know it and believe it. And in fact, this is a really important lesson that one can learn with a robust liberal arts education. Not all values have a parallel dollar amount into which they can be translated. For instance, I would hope that you would be in agreement with me if I said that we could not tell just how much you truly love your mother based on how much money you would ask for in order to pimp her out. That is, if I asked to sleep with your mom, and I offered you $10 and you refused, holding out for a lot more, like maybe 10 grand for the night, would that be a sign of real love for her? That you love her more than someone who was willing to do it for just $10? Now, if you find this example distasteful and the analogy outrageous, that's wonderful. We should be outraged by this, but for the right reasons. If your intuitions tell you that there are some values over which we cannot merely haggle, if your intuitions tell you that some values cannot be translated into dollars, and when we attempt such translation, horrible violence is done to the world, then I would suggest that one of the things we need to do is to ask ourselves if any values are truly translated by the language of economics. For perhaps we've just become so accustomed to this sort of crazy thinking in certain areas of our life that we've lost our collective outrage in general. Ideas have made this happen. They made this example culturally available for me. Misogyny, paternalism, alienation, profit, even racism, empire building, you name it. Ideas built the world, and they made that kind of distasteful question possible on many different levels. Other ideas can tear it down, imagine it differently, and build something different in its place. And a good liberal arts education can make you a builder of worlds. If, for instance, you were here with us for the last few hours when we were reading George's book in Persuasion Nation being read aloud, and you didn't hear the outrage in the outrageously brilliant writing about our culture and our conceptions of personhood today, then I urge you to go read more George on your own soon, because that is the arts and humanities doing something. And here's the thing. George's work isn't some kind of propaganda. We learn about the world, and I think we learn to be better people inhabiting a better world from the work. But George is an artist. He's not writing with the goal of convincing us to be a certain way. It is art that stands on its own, yes, but part of what it means to stand on its own is that it means something, does something. It creases our reality, and it leaves us changed. The study of literature, history, foreign languages, philosophy, all the rest of the humanities disciplines are integral, central even, to creating well-rounded community members, conscientious fellow citizens, and individuals poised to lead a life full of self-reflection as well as economic security. Maybe even to rethink what it means to be economically secure. And the study and practice of good art, that too does all these good things. When some of the press was coming out about our event, I found that George was often being described as a satirist, and this surprised me. When George was here with us last time, some 3 years ago, I think, I made a point of saying that I thought that what he was doing was best described as post-irony, and I think it still holds today. Our culture is already satiric, sold with a wink and a nudge to get us to swallow it down without choking. How can one satirize what is pre-satirized? This is the truly postmodern condition, and it's one that I think George understands like no one else. When an upcoming presidential election is scheduled to cost a reported $5 billion, but leave us with all more of the same. When some of the people we entrust with our protection murder us in the street. When schools are prisons and prisons are dumping grounds. when a legitimately good bourgeois intention to save the planet is merely driving a hybrid because what else is there to do? When Kim Kardashian's book of selfie portraits is Amazon.com's #1 bestseller, when there is such a thing as Amazon.com in the first place, when The Bachelor is still a thing, and you can now actually get your pizza completely wrapped in bacon, when this world is the real world, then where, in this world where absurdity is the new orange, is the new black, is the new norm, where is there even conceptual space for satire? The satirist thinks that he can remove himself from the culture, stand back from it, amplify its craziness, and then show us that amplification back in order to amuse us. George Saunders knows there is no outside, because there is no straight discourse to warp and twist into something comical. George's world of skills and I can speak, of Semplica girls and hatred abatement breathing, of darkened flocks and Doritos, this is our world. Lindsay Hunter recently described George as a god constructed of only nerve endings. I love that. It's true, I think. George feels our pain. He's all in, and he's all empathy. But he knows, too, that he cannot ever remove himself from any part of it, or from responsibility for it, because there's nowhere to go. There's no space outside for any of us. There never was, really. And so, we have to hunker down and build the world anew. It's going to take knowledge of all kinds and people of all different sorts of skills. And before we get to building, in order to be clear about the ideas that are going to guide us, perhaps the best thing to do is get together and read some brilliant, really funny, really sad, really true fiction aloud to each other. Sometimes even over the course of a whole day, because that's doing something. There's only one thing left to say before I turn the stage over to the man we're all here to see. George, if you could join me up here for a second. The DePaul Humanities Center is pleased tonight to present its annual Humanities Laureate Award to George Saunders. Though the official title of the award is the Humanities Laureate, we've taken to thinking of the award in shorthand, using a term coined several years ago by my colleague Sean Kirkland. We call it the humanaut. Like a cosmonaut who explores the cosmos, the humanaut is someone who has explored the outer reaches of and hurled him or herself into the yawning abyss of what it means to be a human being, modeling what a human ought to be and what the humanities might aspire to become. I can think of no better way to explain the genius of the scholar and artist that we're honoring tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the cherry on top of the 24-hour cake. Mr. George Saunders.
There are people in this world, not too many of them, but people who, if you give 5 minutes of energy, they'll give you 20 back. And Peter is one of those people. And I was here 3 years ago, met him, relatively briefer than this for sure, and I just made a note to myself, that's a guy you need to get to know. And so I can't even begin to express my gratitude to you, Peter, and to the DePaul Humanities Center, to Chuck and to Lucy, and for this incredible event. And it's funny, as a former Catholic, the main thing it does is make people do better. They did all that for you. Come on, justify it. But thank you so much. And also, the generosity of the readers was just unbelievable. I was so moved and touched by the readings and also by the generosity of the action. So just thank you. I can't thank you enough. Also, I just want to say quickly, I've got 3 of the best friends in the world from high school are here. We haven't seen each other, some of us in 20 years. Andy, Ed, and Kevin are here. And just a round of applause. We grew up in Fort on the south side, and it was such an incredible, loving, protective network among the 4 of us, kind of covering each each other's asses and leading ourselves to higher ground, so thanks. Also, my daughter Elaine is here, and I just wanted to give my applause. So when I was a student at grad school in Syracuse, I went there from Texas, and it was kind of like, wow, we're going to meet actual writers. So we go there, and the first semester of high school, our teacher hosts the great American novelist Robert Stone. He passed away earlier this year, incredible talent if you haven't read him. And he had been on the Magic Bus with Ken Kesey, he knew Neil Cassidy, he knew Jack Kerouac, he'd been a correspondent in Vietnam. So we're just starstruck. So there comes that terrible moment in a party when everyone's in the kitchen. And Robert Stone is here, and there's 4 or 5 of us grad students in a tight circle, and we are dumbstruck. And we're just standing there with our beers, nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, how stupid is this? Robert Stone is standing right here, and I'm going to say something. I don't care, and what I do best, I said to myself, I just say what's on my mind. So I said something, and honestly, maybe you had this experience. As I said it, the words went out very slowly, and I'm like, oh no. Trying to get it back, and what I said to him, I swear to you, was, and this is a measure of my intimacy with my DePaul friends, I'll tell you this. I said, so Mr. Stone, what is the next big thing? So I watched those words go across to him, and that sweet man looked at me with such pity. And he said something I never forgot. He said, well, I suppose that's up to you guys. So nice, And so I always remember that in terms of art, because I'm not really a generalist, I'm not really a theoretician. Everything I know about the world has come to me through art. So when Peter asked me to talk about the future of humanity, I thought, well, let me start small. Talking maybe an exploration of the humanities by exploring something I actually know about fiction, well, actually just a short story, kind of starting small and maybe possibly building out. So I want to sort of explore the case for art, since it's kind of a weird, silly thing to do. Which this is a 24 hours, okay? And then at home I got a bookshelf. Everything I've read is about this big. And it's all silly shit. And it's all made up. You're like, I'm 56, don't I? Shouldn't I be a building or something? So let's start with a simple kind of baseline question. What is it exactly that art does? And I once read an art critic, I think it was Clement Greenberg, who said, everything essential in the visual arts takes place in a split second after our eyes first fall on the painting. Split second. So everything we need to know about art would lie in the answer to the question, where were you just before the work of art happened to you, and where were you after? That's really it. So let's start with a little thought experiment. If you would think of sort of like the last story or poem or movie or song that really rang your bell, that made you think, oh yeah, art really is worthwhile. So have that in your head. And then just ask yourself, without any sense of preconception or like rooting for any particular outcome, what was the state I was in just before the immersion, what was state after, and then why is that transformation desirable? Okay, so I would hold up something like The Overcoat by Gogol, or the About Love trilogy by Chekhov as kind of my touchstones of artistic power. And these are the stories I go to if I'm ever in doubt about what art can do. So I did this to myself the other day, and it's something like this. In the first moments, I felt something like this. Okay, at first, a revived relation to language. Right? I like language more. I believe in it again. I feel its potential more keenly. Then moving out, I feel somehow more aware. It's kind of a lame word, but like aware. Fonder of the physical world, more interested in the physical world. Oh look, wow, a nun, whatever. Kind of like, wow, it's all still happening out there right now, same as it ever was, and yet infinitely different than it ever was. All new, all fresh, and also feeling like, oh, I get to be part of it. Again, still. I'm not dead yet, time to get going, kind of like Scrooge on Christmas morning. So then, at a secondary level, I feel a resolve to be more in things, to be more alert, to need especially, to the needs of others, to which I can now freshly see I've been a bit blind. Having just been made to care about some invented people, I suddenly find myself more interested in the real ones around me. So the boundaries between me and other people have been made more porous. I feel more alert to my own responsibilities, also to my own defects. And paradoxically, I also, at that same time, feel things to be suddenly kind of workable, kind of malleable. So that first response, the increased awareness of language, and the second set of responses, the revived physicality, the feeling of freshness, the renewed positive intention, they're not unrelated. In fact, they are co-arising, to use a Buddhist term, each causing the other, but really all kind of being manifestations of the same thing. Something like that. Okay, and then this little suite of effects lingers for a while, maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes, an hour, and then it fades. So as a baseline kind of scientific observation, we can say that art causes a finite but definite alteration of one's mind state. That's, safe bet, I can say that. Maybe like a small scale dehabituation on the language level, on the experiential level, and also on the aspirational level. Like a refreshment in the deepest sense. But we might want to be careful here. This way of looking at art, this attempt to answer the question, what does art do, has led to a sort of trope among artists and writers, a trope that appears in interviews, God knows I do it, and as a staple in our so-called craft talks. What does art do? Well, art prepares us for tenderness. That's Chekhov. Art is the axe that breaks open the frozen sea within us. It's Kafka. The purpose of art is washing the dust of daily life off our souls. Picasso. No chunk, that one. Art does not have to solve problems, it only has to formulate them correctly. Chekhov again. Every artist wants to make a picture that opens the gates to heaven at Russia. So, you know the trope. Art wakes us up, makes us less lonely, brings us back to life, reconnects us with others. All true, and I endorse all of them. But there's a certain danger in this, in praise of art or in defense of art or why art matters shtick. The art critic Dave Hickey makes the case that whenever we espouse a utilitarian argument for art, art does X and hence is good for us, and thus we should continue to do it, we get out on the thin ice because we set ourselves up to be censored. There's always a reactionary element out there who subtly or not so subtly will demand that art do something. Especially if we claim this something to be the ultimate justification for making art. If an artist doesn't do that, or doesn't do it sufficiently for them, then that artist can be targeted in some way, ranging from censorship and murder, see Nazi Germany, to the subtle condescending marginalization that we see in America today. Decreased arts and humanities funding for sure, but also that banal, middle-mindish, vaguely chiding tone certain critics take up when dismissing something for being too difficult, or dark, or political, or weird, or, God forbid, experimental. So we want to be careful when we explain what art can do, because we might be mistaken for explaining what art must do. And once we say what it must do, certain work can be judged to have failed to do that. And the total amount of freedom in the cultural system has been incrementally reduced. Now, to quote to Peter's point, we might also say parenthetically that this is why those of us in the arts and humanities often avoid bringing up the fact Peter cited that students with humanities degrees actually tend to make more money than students with business degrees. One, we're humanities people, so we're super polite. Two, it exceeds de facto to a larger assumption with which we disagree, and that, let's be honest, makes us a little nauseous. Namely, that the primary point of education is to make oneself more marketable. And we feel we still believe in what we do, even if it turned out that it was not marketable at all. And we feel that that position might be the greatest gift we could ever give a young person. To lead him to a vocation he would feel inclined to pursue, even if he found it would cost him everything. Fitzgerald famously said that the mark of an intelligent person is the ability to hold two contradictory ideas in the mind at the same time. So maybe then we have to hold these two contradictory ideas in our minds. One, art has no purpose, must refuse to answer for itself, lest it be co-opted and enslaved. Two, of course art has a purpose, dummy. We feel its positive effects all the time, and to make the best art, we have to bear in mind as a starting intention the eventual positive effects we aspire to achieve. Which is it? Neither. Both. You remember the old SNL sketch? A guy says to two quarreling housewives in a grocery store, hold it, you two, you're both right. It's a dessert topping and a floor wax. And the truth is, those of us who do art don't really need to answer the why art question. We do it because we love it, because we're good at it, gives us power in the world, it might even give us a livelihood. But we come back to the question, I think, because we sense the great power of art and have some desire to keep ourselves doing it for the right reasons and in the right spirit. That is, we do it in order to self-encourage ourselves to do better work. Also, the answer to why art, of course, has to do with who's doing the asking. I've been talking here so far about what fiction does for the person experiencing it, its effect on the reader. But what might it do for the artist? A guy, Stan, clears out his basement and makes an impressive model railroad town. One day, Stan acquires a small hobo, puts him under a plastic railroad bridge near a fake fire, then notice that he's accidentally arranged the hobo into a certain pose. The hobo seems to be gazing back at the town. Why is he looking over there? Ah, his wife lives back there, in that little blue Victorian. Let's move her to the window and turn her so she's gazing out. At that bridge, actually. Suddenly Stan's made a love story. A tragic love story. Oh, why can't they be together? If only little Jack would just go home. What did Stan just do? Well, first, while in the state of surveying his little domain, he noticed which way that hobo was looking. So we might say that one thing art does is it trains the artist in paying attention, in viscerally being aware of the status of the work in progress. Kind of not verbally or conceptually, but just viscerally aware. Then Stan chose to change that little universe by turning that plastic wife. Now, in the instant that Stan noticed the hobo and turned the wife, why did he do that? He didn't exactly decide to do it. It might be more accurate to say that it occurred to him to do it. And it occurred to him in a split second with no accompanying language, except maybe this very quiet internal, yeah. So here's a terrifying thought. The difference between the so-so artist and the good one lies in the quality of that quick pre-verbal impulse. Literally, Dostoevsky is over the keyboard, and he goes boom, and it's brilliant. And meanwhile, Stan Smith, who've never heard of, goes, ugh. And what comes out of his mind in that isn't quite as good. Too bad for him. So an artist works outside of the realm of strict logic. Strict logic doesn't make good art. Simply knowing one's intention and executing it does not make good art. Artists know this. According to Donald Barthelme, the writer is that person who, embarking upon her task, has no idea what to do. Gerald Stern says, if you start out to write a poem about two dogs fucking, and you write a poem about two dogs fucking, and you wrote a poem about two dogs fucking. Einstein, always the smarty pants, outdid them both. He said, no worthy problem is ever solved in the plane of his original conception. The artist's job, then, is to blunder into a problem that he suddenly finds he can't solve. That's the whole point, to get oneself into that mind and then see what resources show up to help you get out of it. My method, personally, is embarrassingly simple. I hate to talk about it because it's so crude. I just imagine it as a meter in my head with a P on this side for positive, N on this side for negative, and I try to read what I've written uninflectedly, like a first-time reader would. As Isaac Innocent put it once, without hope and without despair. Then I just edit so as to keep that needle up in the P zone and out of the negative. That's it, over and over. I'm just trying to discern the actual energy of the story and follow it and exploit it. And if it goes off and is negative, you kind of turn to the story and say, what's the problem? And at first it says, nothing. Come on, I love you. Tell me, what's the problem? And sometimes I say, well, I'm boring. I'm boring. You close the little thing. Where are you boring? A6. So, the great Chicago writer, Stuart Dyack, if you haven't read him, please do, he once said to a class of mine in Syracuse, and he's got a stronger Chicago accent than I do, the story is always talking at, but you have to learn to listen to it. So for me, that listening happens through basically iteration, over and over. Just watching that needle over and over, often through hundreds of drafts, and over the drafts, the story slowly changes, led by those thousands of gut-level, second-to-second instincts, like Stan turning thousands of that little life. Now, every writer has his own approach. Mine is, I think, a little weird. It's kind of obsessive, kind of time-intensive. But I think all writers would agree that whatever the approach, one of the magical effects of the process is that it yields a result that is better than they are. A vision of the world that's somehow above and beyond their daily view, wiser, more generous, livelier, more ambiguous and open, more vivid, wittier, funnier, whatever. So it's like if the people you are at various moments get to come forward one at a time over that 3 or 4 year period and take their best shot at the story. And what results is sort of like the way you would feel about the world if you were the very best person you'd ever been. Or better. Better than you've ever been. So that's really pleasurable, to be on the page, less of a dope than usual. related to that one is you get to bring order out of chaos, meaning out of a whim. You take a scrap, the meaning of which you have no idea, and refine it until it definitely means something. And that meaning is often bigger and more coherent and wilder by far than the ideas one runs around spouting on a daily basis. So this high-level intuitive problem-solving we do in art is an example of a different mode in which the mind can work. Nothing mystical or new age about it. It's just there's a mode of operation the brain is capable of that, although it's incredibly powerful, we don't often use it in our daily lives. Those thousands of micro decisions aren't conscious decisions. They don't involve concepts or a plan. They're visceral and intuitive, yet in the end, they suggest a very intense kind of guiding intelligence that exists outside of us or maybe inside of us. This mode is kind of like intuition, but writ large, and you sustain it longer. It's intuition with a longer half-life, maybe. So here's a second and two-parted thing that an artistic practice does, maybe selfishly for the practitioner. One, it convinces them of the tangible reality of this higher mode of knowing. And two, it instructs them in how to get into that mode and then stay in it for a while. So, okay, we go into a different mode, so what? We can do that by drinking a bunch of Red Bull. But what's the purpose of this higher mode? Is it just a weird, freaky thing, or is it somehow positive? Is it desirable for us to get into and stay in that mode? In his beautiful graduation speech at Kenyon College called This Is Water, the late David Foster Wallace talked about the power of choosing to subvert or interrupt our default settings, about consciously transforming our ongoing internal narratives about the irritating people around us in those other cars in the checkout line. He talked about the importance of choosing to do this to these graduates, or choosing to try to do this. What one unstated in that talk, but what I think strongly implied, especially if you knew Dave or are familiar with his incredible fiction, is the idea that immersion in art can be a way of training ourselves to do this, to enact that interruption of our defaults, training. So when I write, Bob was an asshole, and then feeling that this is perhaps somewhat lacking in specificity, revise it to read, Bob snapped impatiently at the barista. And then ask myself, seeking yet more specificity, why Bob might have done that, and revise to, Bob snapped patiently at the young barista who reminded him of his dead wife. And then pause and add, who we miss so much, especially now at Christmas. I didn't make that series of intuitive change because I wanted my story to be more compassionate. I did it because I wanted it to be less lame. But it is more compassionate. Bob has gone from pure asshole to grieving widower, so overcome with grief that he has behaved ungraciously to a young person to whom normally he would have been nice. Bob has changed. He started out a cartoon on which we could heap scorn, but now he's closer to me on a different day. I turned my attention to Bob, and under the pressure of trying not to suck, my prose moved in the direction of detail and specificity, and in the process my gaze became more loving toward him, i.e. more gentle, nuanced, complex. And you, reading that, witnessing my gaze becoming more loving, maybe found your own gaze becoming slightly more loving toward Bob. And together, the two of us, assisted by that imaginary grouch, reminded ourselves that it's possible for one's gaze to become more loving. A good thing of which to be reminded. So arguably, next time I see someone like Bob, I see someone who I'm prone to dismiss based on a shallow, quick judgment of Bob's superficial tendencies, I might be more inclined to slow down and reconsider. And now I have a way to practice doing this at my leisure, at a slowed down pace, in my writing room, by applying what we call craft, aka trying not to suck. Okay, now this becoming more loving by trying not to suck can occur as above on the line level, but can also occur structurally. I once wrote a story which you heard sometime called Barber's Unhappiness, which the inspiration which was kind of crass and simple and also kind of mean. In the town where we were living, there was this barber who spent a lot of time out front of his shop, smoking and ogling whatever women happened to be passing by, like old women, young women, female dogs, women whose faces were passing by on the side of the buses, didn't matter. So I decided, being a novel writer, to crucify him in a story. So for the first few months, this went really well. I got to inhabit the mind of the sexist dope and cozy up to the reader, and day after day together, we brought this guy down. He's a crude, judgmental misogynist who lived with his mother. Take that idiot. And then I got stuck. The story kind of flatlined. just kept repeating beats. The story had, it appeared, a technical problem, a structural issue. And I went around mulling this for months. So the problem is there's a structural issue. Right on the post-it. Note to self, address structural issue. I just went on and on. But I couldn't get the thing to start moving again. And finally I realized why. It wasn't a structural issue, it was a condescension issue. I was keeping that barber so far below me that I'd given him absolutely no hope for improvement. He wasn't a person, he was just this machine I created, whose purpose was to allow me to make fun of him. I just kept kicking him, and that repeated kicking was mean. We can live with that in art, but it was also static. And the short story is all about change. The short story cannot be, once upon a time there was this big asshole, and he stayed that way forever. Yeah. Even though in real life that narrative, asshole stays asshole, happens all the time. But stories are built on the magical notion that things can change. And they're set at that magical moment when they just might be about to. So I thought if I wanted to get the story moving, escalating, I had to at least make it possible for my barber to pull his head out of his ass. It's a technical term. So how to do it? Well, first, because I'm not a subtle writer, as you know, if you've been here the last 24 hours, in order to make some sympathy for the guy and me and the reader, I lopped off all the toes on one of his feet. He was still an asshole, still harsh, still sexist, still went around rejecting women for not being attractive enough for him, but now he had no toes. And he was self-conscious about this. He regretted going to the beach, for example. And I started to feel that for all of his idiocy, this guy really did want to love and be loved, but he just didn't know how. And he could feel that his clock was running out. In short, there's some drama came into the story and some pathos, and it was because I started caring about him. And I started caring about him because I very mechanically, via the toe lopping, made him vulnerable. I let him be a person. Oh, poor guy, I felt I know you. And suddenly I did. He wasn't just some unlikable guy I was inventing in order to kick him. He was me in a different life. Me with more misogyny. No toes. Me if I'd been born like 40% less self-reflective and 20% more anxious. So he wasn't me exactly now, but he was not me anymore. And here's the thing, I made him more vulnerable, more lovable, in response to the demands of the form. Not from any moral concern, but just because the story itself wasn't working. So this is a really mysterious thing, and I have to confess I don't understand it totally, and in a way I don't really want to. I just know that it's true, and I treasure it, and I always look forward to getting back to my writing room and being further instructed in this way. On my writing table, I keep a framed Richard Pettibone postcard, a picture of a train racing across the landscape, and the train is seeming to think, these excursions serve to carry my roots ever deeper into the vigorous soil of truth. Truth in the case of this barber story meant correctly positing that that barber and I existed on a continuum. He was knowable to me. Or more accurately, since I had no idea what that real barber was like, he, the character, must have existed within me. I generated him, brought him forward, made him up out of me. He came out of my projection about him, and then I modified this projection through revision. Now, what did knowing that I had made him out of me do for me, other than slightly creeping me out? Well, I say it gave me some insight into identity. Who am I? Well, I'm everybody. I'm nobody. Or I'm nobody consistently. I'm large, I contain multitudes, and those multitudes are always flickering on and off within us. Every you out there is contained somehow in me, and vice versa. So fiction, craft, partly means saying, I believe that. There's a 90-year-old Auschwitz survivor. I'm a 20-year-old grad student. Can I know her? Hell yeah. The wonderful writer, Eckhart Tolle, once told me he went to his dad, who was a Holocaust survivor, and said, Dad, I know I could never understand what he went through. And his dad said, nonsense, of course you could. Have you ever been hungry? Have you ever been cold? Have you ever been scared? Just more of that. You know? So in this idea that we exist on a continuum and can know each other through this rigorous practice, there lies the keys to a certain kingdom. So what does an artist do mostly? She tweaks that which she's already done. There are those moments when we walk up to a blank page, but mostly we're tweaking. The writer revises, the painter touches up, the director edits, the musician overdubs. I write, Bob came into the room and sat down on the blue couch. Read that, wince, cross out, came into the room and down and blue. Why does he have to come into the room? Can someone sit up on a couch? Why do we care if it's a blue couch? And now, in a sense, becomes Bob sat on the couch. Sort of better. Almost like Hemingway now. So, but why did I do that? On what basis did I make those cuts? Well, on the basis that it is better this way for me over here, now, it will be better for you later, maybe years later, over there when you read it. When I pull on this rope here, you look forward over there. This is the way all art works, on the assumption that artistic effects are somehow experienced in common between people through a kind of mechanics. So this is a very hopeful notion because it implies that our minds are built on some sort of common architecture. Now, so as not to get too dreamy or facile about this, the guy who charges into a crowded marketplace and blows himself up, killing hundreds of people, he also shares this common architecture. The guy who invented Auschwitz shared this common architecture with you, with me, with Mother Teresa. So this idea of a common neural architecture doesn't say we're all good or we're all brothers exactly the same. But it says something like, wherever you are on the human continuum, I'm going to start from the assumption that I can know you. Because whatever tendencies are large in you must be here somewhere, perhaps smaller and or nascent in me. So any one person is theoretically imaginable to another. Because any one person is contained within another person for reasons that have to do, I think, with our basic neurological similarity. So this is a great starting assumption for those of us who want to be a positive force in the world. It gives us somewhere to start, something to try. Give me a lever and a place to stand and I will move the earth, said Archimedes. And this principle is our great lever. When I say fresh cut grass on a summer day, or first kiss ever, neurons light up in me, 1969. A little later actually, but in a Camaro, whatever. And then that first kiss idea goes to you, neurons light up in you. You can hear it almost. And the causality there is not random. I initiated it, and without even wanting to, you rose to it. So we're in it together. I sometimes imagine my reader and I are riding along on one of those motorcycle sidecar deals. The idea of revising then is to move the sidecar closer and closer to my motorcycle. In a bad story, the sidecar is like several miles away, and the writer has no idea what's going on here. So I go right, the writer's like, well, what are we doing? What are we doing? Who's Sally? I missed that part. But in a good story, the two are basically one unit, and when they go around a tight corner, they do it together. And it's thrilling, it's intimate, and meaning comes pouring off the story as a result of that mutual proximity. That's what we actually feel line to line, is that arm around the shoulder, preparing us and then delivering whatever the effect is. So it's kind of amazing, to me anyway, that two people from totally different times and places can connect in this sort of brain morph. I might be a 19th century Russian count, you might be a part-time Walmart clerk in Boise, but when you start finding the end of my Tolstoy's Master and Man, you have proved that I, Tolstoy, was like you and vice versa. And part of the reason you're crying is that you just realized that Tolstoy thought well of you. He believed that his own deep notions about life here on earth would be discernible to you all these 100 years later and would move you. So Tolstoy actually imagined you generously and that you rose to the occasion. So in this model, art is about imagining the other, that is your audience, generously. Assuming that your audience is made up of people as humane, bright, witty, experienced, and well-intentioned as you, the artist. And then you proceed to communicate with them. And to communicate well with them, you have to maintain that state through revision of generously imagining them. You kind of revise your reader up in your imagination with every pass. You keep saying to yourself, no, she's smarter than that. Don't dishonor her with that lazy prose or that easy plot move. And in revising your reader up, of course, we revise ourselves up as well. Now, I see that I'm once again, in spite of myself, cranking out the old what art does for a shtick. So let's do a quick ritual re-invocation of Dave Hickey, who said back there in section 4 or so, that art must be allowed the privilege of being completely useless. Why art, someone asks. Why not, says the artist. Leave me alone, I just like it. The truth is, art doesn't have to do anything. The stories, said Randall Jarrell, don't want to know, don't want to care, just want to do as they please. Do what you please is the motto of many masterpieces. Art, we now again remind ourselves, is a place in which the artist gets to be totally free, to no purpose. naughty, profane, lyrical, self-indulgent, exploratory, perverse, sentimental, whatever. Art is freedom. Art is a place where no justification is necessary, except the justification, ultimately, of no. There I go again. Art is a place where no justification is necessary. The bird doesn't sing because it had an answer. My answer was that it sings because it has a song. We're not trying to do anything. We're just doing for fun. And yet, I'm 56 years old. I've written 8 books and I'm about, God willing, to finish a 9th. By this time, I've noticed certain cyclical qualities in my artistic process, a series of places along the way in which I paused to neurotically worry, like this. Why don't I have a single good idea? I'm supposed to be a pro. I got an award from DePaul. And a little idea comes. Well, this idea just that came to me proved to be too lame to sustain. Why do we keep deleting and restoring that bowling alley section? Will I ever find a good ending? Where did that bowling alley section go? That might make a good ending. Shit, what is that bowling alley section doing here in my 2011 taxes folder? Now that I found the bowling alley section and made it the ending, will anyone buy the story? Now that they've bought it, will anyone read it? Will they like it? Now that some people have read it and liked it, and I've regrettably found the adulation insufficient. Because alas, I am still myself. How am I supposed to write a new story now and thereby demonstrate my continuing viability when I don't have a single good idea? Rinse, lather, repeat for the rest of your life. So I think one reason I find myself drawn to the what does art do risk is to assure myself that this obsessive activity, which takes so much of my time and energy and focus, and sometimes keeps me out of my life, is still worth doing. Life is short, and art is way longer than I ever imagined it back when I was starting out. Imagine, if you will, that you're watching a home video of a family party, and there you are, looking dreamily off stage right. Just as stage left, the baby is about to fall down a flight of stairs. Don't worry, short flight of stairs, very resilient baby. But check out the look on your face. You seem to be listening to someone talking off camera or thinking dreamily about something nice like the future or whatever. Down goes the baby. That right there is the state none of us ever wants to see ourselves in. Essential cluelessness, ignorance, obliviousness. As in that video, so it is in life. None of us wants to look back and find out that we've been clueless, ignorant, oblivious. For example, in heaven, after you're dead. You don't want to look at that movie of your life. They supposedly show you up there and go, oops, I was looking entirely the wrong way, or doing something useless as that baby went down. Now, one of the timeless creative writing aphorisms is if you introduce the notion of a baby falling down some stairs, try to come back to it right away to make it seem less weird. So, here we go. What is the falling baby that we don't want to be looking away from in real life? That is, what is it that, above and beyond all other things, we should have our eyes on, lest we find ourselves up in heaven, feeling that we have been a clueless moron? So when all is said and done, what exactly are we here to do? The big question. Well, we live mostly by habit. We live mostly feeling that what we see is what we get, that the evidence of our senses can be trusted, and that what they give us is a true picture of that which is. We got this beautiful perceiving mechanism, our senses plus our mind, and we feel that this mechanism produces a perfect picture of reality. But really it doesn't. The system is capable really of discerning only a tiny fraction of what it actually is. Which is a problem, because some of the things we can't possibly know with our extremely limited, linear, logical, fact-based minds are important. What happens when we die? How can we reconcile the fact that we love with the fact that we die? And that the objects of our love also must die? How is it that our consciousness is? What's the difference between what we call our brains, which we know will end, and what we call our minds, which we hope will somehow live on? How can it be that we as a species can be so incredibly loving and tender with one another and then lapse into such terrible violence? Now, mostly, of course, all is well. Life generally stays confined within those narrow boundaries within which our limited faculties perform admirably and are sufficient. But every now and then, the curtains part just a little. We get a wake-up call. A loved one dies. We get sick or depressed. We lose everything. Someone cheats on us. Our knee gets blown out. We go bald. We're 90 and piss ourselves at the opera. We're 20 and our best friend kills herself. The world says, you know me not. Not really, not fully. The world says, also, by the way, I should not be bound by what you can or can't handle. Your pain shall have no effect on my method of proceeding. What I felt at such moments was a sort of unwilling opening up. A feeling of being suddenly viscerally aware of certain shortcomings in my habitual way of seeing and feeling the world, and in response, a related set of imperatives to what? Well, approximately to regard all of this as more precious. As precious as it actually is. To regard others, even people insignificant to me, as more beloved. As beloved as they actually should be. What I felt in such crisis moments, and what I truly believe, especially given the insight with increasing age, that these crises are not freakish, anomalous things, but they're out there all the time, happening right now, are actually the norm, and we're all heading for more of them, for sure, is that we are here, very simply, to grow in love. That's what we're here to do. Growing in love is actually the hidden purpose behind our existence as individuals and as a species. Now, when someone says we're here to grow in love, you kind of expect some doves to be released and a rainbow to appear and a bunch of hippies to wander in and start hugging everyone. Sounds kind of sappy. So let me try to be a little more hard-assed about this. What do I mean, grow in love? Okay. When I say love, what am I really talking about? I'm not talking necessarily about, fondness or affection or nonstop positive, good-natured ratings. That kind of new age thing where you go, oh, thank you for putting that spike through my head. I'm going to use it to hang my coat on. That's not what I'm talking about. But on something like this, if you could imagine a big pool up in the mountains somewhere and multiple streams running down out of it, and those streams are like compassion, empathy, fellow feeling, maybe kindness, maybe awareness, not being full of shit, taking reality seriously. That pond is what I'm calling love for shorthand, the source that feeds and makes possible all those other positive streams. Maybe wisdom or presence are better words, or like genuine positivity, whatever. Kind of headwater of positivity, positive inclination. But it's our purpose here, I'm saying, whether because of biology or the will of God or karma or whatever, is to clear away the mud blocks and the weed clogs that obstruct the outflow of this reservoir. Not because of anything mystical or hazy or preordained, but because it makes sense to do it. It's a form of common sense given the state in which we find ourselves. It's common sense given that our perceptions continually in every instant lead us to some conclusions that impede our generosity, i.e. the conclusions that we're permanent, we're central, and we're separate from everything else. So I think my mind turns back again and again to this question of what art does, because if it turns out that art doesn't have anything to do with helping me grow in love, I think at this point I'd kind of maybe rather not do it. Although that might be bullshit. I really love writing. And I'm not entirely sure that I'd stop even if it was proven to me that it had no positive effects on me or anybody else. In fact, I'm not even sure I'd stop if it was proven that it had negative effects on me or somebody else. Although, let me invoke what for me are the four most beautiful words in English. On the other hand. On the other hand. I recently had the pleasure of corresponding with my first grade teacher, Sister Carol, who lives here in Chicago. And in a very beautiful letter to me, in precise and near telegraphic handwriting, she wrote, I wish you the best as you research and write your next book. May transformation be the byproduct for you, ever-deepening understandings. St. Irenaeus once said, the glory of God is the person fully alive. That, I believe. I believe from my own tactile experience of it that art really does make us momentarily a person fully alive, or at any rate, a person more fully alive. It can be seen as one of a handful of very real, very practical things we can do to expand ourselves and briefly wake ourselves up again. A kind of prayer, really, or meditation. A ritual act that alters brain function and makes us regard things differently. And as our perceptions are altered, so might be our actions. What's the opposite of love? Well, I say objectification. The failure to understand another human being as being equal in all respect to oneself. The failure to see that that person over there is every bit as real as you are. Seeing the other person more as thing and less as full human being. Are there any indications in contemporary America that we might be guilty of this? Oh boy. You can list the usual suspects as well as I can. Rating income inequity, our discretionary and brutal wars, brutalizing for us as well as our enemies, the growing corporatization of our country and the resulting diminishment of the individual and her rights, the increasing militarization of law enforcement towards the citizenry, our violent attitude towards the natural world, our bulging jails, overflowing homeless camps, frequent school shootings. Now, am I going to say that engagement in art can cure all of this? No. Yes. Sort of. I'm going to say that engagement in art can mitigate it, that it always has been mitigating it. Where does all this brutality come from? Well, while we might at some level believe that we are our brother's keeper, most of us entertain a rather limited idea of just who our brothers might be. Art urges us to expand that idea and to believe that every living being is our brother or sister, and because art is so nice, it even offers to instruct us, as I've been describing, in how to effect this expansion in ourselves. What's going on when we objectify someone? We're committing a failure of literary imagination. We're failing to imagine the other person fully. We're attributing to them only our rigid projection of them. This we might call first draft thinking. The easiest thing comes out, the thing we already thought, the thing everyone else pretty much thinks. Often it's a lazy thing, the thing right there handy on the shelf of conventional ideas. What happens during revision? Well, we say, what if it's actually otherwise? So seen in this way, art is not some sort of add-on or hobby or frill, something decorative, in which we indulge ourselves now and then, a form of entertainment that is sadly not as entertaining as our real entertainment, a kind of dull medicine we have to occasionally get dressed up to take. It's the essential human activity, trying to reimagine the world as a place in which you are not above others and you are not separate from them. Trying to get your everyday view of them to be more in keeping with what actually is, i.e. less delusional. So this is hard, habit-breaking work. It requires a practice. And it's critical work. It's urgent and necessary. Every minute that we live in a mode that denies this vision, that denies equality, that underscores separateness, we create suffering for ourselves and others. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you, Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. What is within us? This vexing, stubborn belief that we're separate from everyone and superior to most. What happens if we bring this notion out? By writing crap old works of art that at first embody this notion, and then, as we revise the hell out of them, deny it. Well, according to Jesus, it saves us. We live in what's arguably the most powerful country in the history of the world that has arguably, I would say, somewhat lost its moral compass. What do we stand for these days? Well, freedom? Most of the rest of the world has caught up with us on that one, and the American call to freedom these days is often made by people who want to be free of all regulations, so as to get all the money and keep it forever without having to feel guilty about it. Equality, sort of, but even Ireland is kicking our ass at that. I think what we actually stand for, what we actually believe in, can be determined by asking, what do we spend most of our time pursuing? For what, with our feet, are we voting? What do we reinforce with our actions? When the shit hits the fan, to what do we instinctively turn? I'm afraid the answer is we believe in materialism. That is, the idea that the world is all material. That no meaningful phenomenon is immaterial. That all can be known via the senses and logic. That our current mind-body configuration just so happens, for the first time in history, to be set up so as to correctly discern all that is or could ever be. How convenient. I mean, wouldn't it be weird if this historical moment happened to be the first time ever that our perceptual capabilities exactly match the scope of the universe? We're not the first person to feel this way, but we can see how wacky and self-involved it is by imagining dead people. Ben Franklin regarded my iPhone. I drive past Moses in my Escalade. Ben and Moses are thereby instructed there are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamed of in your philosophy. So, there are more things in heaven and earth that are dreamed of in our current philosophy. I'd argue that over the last 50 years, at least, we've been going through a certain process which has involved the gradual negation or sidelining of religion, or what we might call a spiritual approach to life, in favor of this materialist view. We become more literal, more fact-based, more suspicious of the non-literal, the intuitive, the can't be quite proven. With this shift has come a move towards the pragmatic, the materially cautious, toward the imperative, as Peter pointed out, to earn a living. Understandable. but dangerous, because when we embrace the material as the end-all and be-all, we set ourselves up for a terrible reckoning that day when materialism is shown to be partial and shown to be essentially false. The day materialism shrugs its manly shoulders and walks away going, "Hey, I never said I had all the answers." Then it points you like the fawns and leaves you there on your deathbed or wherever. Now, before we completely trash materialism, let's pause and say a word of thanks for these lights and this beautiful building and the cars we drove over in and our incredibly cheap pants and so on. We got interested in materialism in the first place for a really good reason: suffering. Mankind has suffered and suffered with disease and hunger and discomfort and the crushing labor required to keep these at bay. And our devotion to materialism and its beautiful handmade science has led to the cessation of lots of suffering. Materialism cures suffering. It mitigates all kinds of terrors that hung over the lives of our grandparents. Gone, or mostly gone, that suffering, for some of us anyway. But the only problem with materialism is it's incomplete. It only addresses a narrow band of suffering, material suffering. But there's another kind of suffering that materialism can't begin to address, and for this we need other kinds of knowledge and other modes of investigation. Materialism has become a god to us, but it's a sham god. It has a church in which you can worship it, and that church is capitalism. It has a method of veneration, which is profit. It has a saint and the shareholder. It has an exciting new form that's cutting across national boundaries, and that is called corporatism. And corporatism is very nicely rendering our good old democracy passé. Democracy has become for many of us that process by which we go out and vote, while feeling that our vote doesn't much matter, because the whole deal is run by distant, inscrutable, and impenetrable forces far away, with the intention of keeping power where power is, which is sort of sad. But real democracy might begin anew in the cultivation of a truly egalitarian heart. As I would not be a slave, I would not be a master, said Lincoln. Amen, Abe. Right as usual. So art is one way that over the centuries mankind has tried to cultivate a truly egalitarian heart, by honoring through its means of practice the idea that this person is equal to that one, just as real, just as worthy of respect and dignity and a shot at a good life. The idea that the kingdom of God within us, within each of us, in equal proportion. Those of us in the humanities, those of us in the arts, are sort of like New Jersey. In spite of our great natural beauty, we are always in the position of having to defend ourselves. Why? Well, it's a time of materialism. We hold their coats, or so they think, and so we sometimes think. We are the lesser way of knowing. We don't seem quite capable of proving anything, which I say respectively, bullshit. Our job is to be strong against this creeping materialism and liberalism and saying, look, our way of knowing is real. Ours is a totally valid, time-honored way in which the mind works, and if we fail to take it seriously, we doom ourselves to using only part of the mind. If we subscribe fully to a belief system we know to be only partial, materialism, we institute a sort of broad cultural infantilism, and thereby write our own death sentence. And if you don't believe us, we might say, if you don't believe materialism is inadequate, look around. Look around you with a loving heart and see the abundant cruelties our brothers and sisters are enduring, and ask yourself why this is. Ask yourself, what's lacking in our current approach? Is it possible that in our zeal for the very real healing powers of materialism, we've let the pendulum swing too far, and in the process are actually being terrible scientists, because we're ignoring very real data points? The data points manifested in many ways that mere materialism is selling us short, and has now begun to cause human suffering rather than stop it. Now, with all this talk about love, let me just say that love on the page does not look like seagulls and constant miraculous reconciliation between enemies and uplifting epiphanies and bad people being transformed into good people. On the last page, go out to a nice brunch while smiling beatifically. No. Love on the page might look like Flannery O'Connor, Southern wise-ass, malcontent, possible misanthrope. It might look like Nikolai Gogol, self-doubting provincial whose nose was apparently so long and pointy that he could take it into his mouth, and did so at parties. And who wrote stories so full of anger and love and low humor and discomfort all at once that when you walk away from them, you think with a cringe, hey, that might actually be what God thinks of us. Usually when we think about love being present in a story or compassion or heart, we imagine a story in which the writer models love by loving his character, like that earlier barber example. We see the writer over the course of the story coming to like his character or understand the character in some new way, such that once was bad can now be seen as good, or at least be seen with some hopefulness. In this type of story, the writer models love by paying close attention to his character. But a more comprehensive model, I think, is the story in which the writer models love by showing love for a reader. It doesn't really matter what they're looking at together. The writer is modeling love by showing a reader how good it feels to be on the receiving end of it. What's more loving than someone leaning in close and charming you, telling you some new truth, making you feel more alive by being so surprising, considering you her absolute equal, making you revere language all over again? The essential love in this story is the love the writer shows the reader, through her respect for the reader's intelligence, and the thoughtfulness of the telling, and the way she anticipates the minute turnings of the reader's mind, the way she treats the reader like an honored guest in the house that is the story. God save us from this sweet story, the one that's trying so hard to be uplifting that it turns out to be saccharine or reactionary, only reifying the power-protecting truisms that would keep things as they are. Save us from the dainty story, the well-made story, the holier-than-thou story, the story that knows too well where it's going and just goes there, proving its stupid, high-minded point. We can work also in the gutter. We can look at hate, darkness, sin. We can be snide, wry, facetious, minimal, whatever. Anything goes. The real uplift, if any is even needed, is in the intimacy forged between writer and reader. And this can happen in all sorts of landscapes. Sarcastic deserts, nightmarish dystopian swamps, snarky frozen ponds. The work of art is a black box the reader enters, and while in there, something definite and non-trivial happens. What? We don't know. We don't have to know. As artists, we just have to make sure that something definite and non-trivial happens in there, that a joke gets delivered. Or the artist is like a roller coaster designer. What does the roller coaster designer want the patron to say when he steps off? Holy shit, would be good. The thing I'm calling love might be hidden in a story and hard to find. It might come at us from a strange direction. But in a good story, we feel the love in proportion to the power of the jolt and the volume of that holy shit. And what that jolt and that holy shit are saying is, wow, I'm still here and it's still beautiful. They're also saying, hooray, guess what? Our ability to look anew at the world and our own minds remains, as of this reading, unlimited, as indicated by that thrill I just now experienced. In closing, I just want to describe the most powerful mind state possible, the greatest superpower anyone could ever have. Ready? To understand everyone, to be sympathetic to everyone, to be moved always to the benefit of other people, to love omnidirectionally without condition, to feel an infinite fondness for all creation. If a person can do that, he'd be doing pretty good. Can we do it? I can't, not even for a minute. Sometimes I might remember to hold open a door for someone. But even if we can't come close to that state, if you are like me, too anxious and egotistical and competitive to get near it or sustain it, barely able to imagine it, still it's a worthy aspiration. And aspiration might be everything. Positive intention may be the only thing we can really work in this life. And it's certainly the place we have to start. But honestly, at 56, more convinced than ever that my life really will end someday, it seems clear to me that we're here to do one thing: burn through our nonsense and move toward our loving nature. And my guess is that we're here as a species in the longer term to do the same thing: burn through our nonsense and move toward our loving nature. And that if there is reincarnation or heaven or whatever, then what's happening in most places is that souls are burning through their nonsense and moving away from smallness and hate and toward vastness and love. So now, turning back finally to this question of the arts and humanities, their future, their relevance, I feel emboldened to say at least this: to the extent that our arts and humanities expands outward, grows in love, they will be useful and critical in the Bible. To the extent that they don't, they'll just be a mere sideshow, a place for talented people to show off and make careers and initiate brands and so on. The humanities will thrive, actually education in general will thrive, to the extent that we do two things. One, pose the urgent questions, refuse to get sidetracked into specialization in such a way that we forget that broad positive intention. And two, answer those urgent questions with vigor by any means necessary, creating new methods by which to do so, if we need to do it. So, in a world where a scientist at the University of Arizona, Stuart Hameroff is his name, is now asserting that what we have always called the soul might actually exist physically, or quasi-physically, within something called a microtubule, located inside the neuron, and that at the moment of death, the contents of the microtubule, which would be everything you have ever known, done, said, or had as a habit, could theoretically be sent out via quantum time-space into the zygote of a pregnant woman many miles distant. This is actual scientific study about this. Thus confirming sort of a notion of reincarnation that was arrived at thousands of years ago via contemplation, meditation, and mystical recollection of previous life experiences. In that world, we see that we're rapidly outgrowing these us versus them distinctions, and I say good riddance. We're being driven by the data, as it were, back to the urgent questions of existence and consciousness and how to comport ourselves here in this realm, given those concerns. So here, if we need one, is our defense. And like all the best defenses, it's a good offense. And like all good offenses, it's based in joy, and even in a kind of holy confusion, which is just another word for openness. What art does, what the humanities do, is take up the question of what it is to be human. But more than that, the question of what the human might be, at its best, someday, a day unimaginable to us right now, or nearly unimaginable. Our job is to imagine through our work toward that unknowable future. And we really don't know what that best human would look like. Don't know our own limits, or our own capabilities, or what any of this stuff we call the world really is. We really don't know, but our work here is to try to find it exquisitely beautiful that we don't know. Thank you so much for your attention.
Very little to add. Just thank you for the love, and thank you for encouraging us to imagine how to grow. And best day ever. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We hope to see you again soon. And our thanks to Mr.